In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators, we are innovators, we are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, from the northeast quadrant of the United States, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscalla. Saturday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the Trim Radio Network. You can join the conversation in any of our chat rooms. And now, without further ado, your host, Riscalla.
Well, let's try that again. Welcome, everybody. I didn't realize that we were automatically on mute there. I apologize. But I was saying that the world has just become one insane asylum, right? And it seems like the inmates are the ones who are running the show. It seems more and more crazy. So since my last show, we had President Trump. I don't know what got into the man. I really don't. On Resurrection Sunday, I was on the night before that, so I didn't see it until the next day. On Resurrection Sunday, he tells Iran to open the effing straits, and or you're going to catch all hell. Or maybe that was before. I know that on Resurrection Sunday, he threatened to destroy an entire civilization. Now, for those of you who say, oh, well, Riscalla has Trump derangement syndrome. Do people with Trump derangement syndrome vote for Trump 3 times? I don't think so. What Riscalla has is a realistic view with some critical thinking and some common sense. And what Riscalla says is that we should have never, ever gone into this war. And that once again, we have been lied to, once again. And those who can't see that, let me remind you of some things. First, Vietnam War. That's the war that, when I was in the service, that's the war that was going on. Was based on a lie. We killed thousands and thousands and thousands of people for a lie. I will tell you that when I found that out, I thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown. I have friends that didn't come back. And sometimes it gets extremely emotional for me, because when you're in a situation like that, you become like brothers. You may not share the same blood from the parents, but you become like, sometimes even closer than brothers. I have friends that didn't come back, and those who came back were not the same. Based on a lie, we killed thousands and thousands of people. Vietnam. Next. Well, we're getting impatient because there was a lull there where we weren't really into any major conflicts. There was all kinds of stuff going on in the background, but we really needed to raise some more money and kill some more people. So 9/11 occurred. Oh, how convenient. Let's go to Afghanistan. Afghanistan has our next boogeyman, Osama bin Laden, a man who was able to overcome the greatest, if not the second greatest, I believe is the greatest, but either way, security system on the face of the planet. This is what we're told anyway. On a satellite in a cave in Afghanistan. Well, we've got to go get him. So we punished an entire country for one man. One man. Stayed there for how long? How many years? How many decades? And what happened at the end? Walked out with our tail between our legs, a major loss. Loss of life on both sides, and financially. Well, we really needed some more. Afghanistan at the time wasn't really priming the engine. So we decided to go into where? Iraq. Oh, he's got weapons of mass destruction. Had nothing to do with 9/11. Nothing. But we came up with this excuse that he has weapons of mass destruction. You know who has weapons of mass destruction? Yeah. He did have weapons of mass destruction, and it was absolutely documented because we were the ones who supplied him. And so we went to war with Iran. That went on for a little over a decade, if I remember correctly. But back to the boogeyman, Saddam Hussein. He's killing his people. He has weapons of mass destruction. We need to intervene. We can't stand by. Did he have anything to do with 9/11? No, but we have to intervene. Did we ever find weapons of mass destruction? Nope. Another lie. Muammar Gaddafi, he's killing his people. He's a terrorist. He's supporting all these terrorist groups. We need to intervene. So we have Muammar Gaddafi murdered in front of the world. Bashar al-Assad, oh my God, he's gassing his people. We have to intervene. It's the same crap over and over. I can't understand how people can't see the pattern. Ayatollah Khomeini, he's killing his people, 40,000 people. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I've seen reports where people were murdered by the thousands, but it wasn't the Iranian government that was doing it. It was Mossad. That's what these people were saying. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's true. Nevertheless, our latest boogeyman, Ayatollah Khomeini, we have to go in. We have to enter. They can't have nuclear power. Just, 6, 8 months ago, we were told that, well, they're not going to be able to do anything with nuclear for a while. No, that wasn't good enough. So now we're in a major conflict, which some of the people who are in the former Intels that are doing podcasts and interviews are saying this could go on for years. Oh, great. Oh, just great. Let me tell you, if I was living in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, I don't think I'd want to have anything to do with America any longer. And I believe that's what is going to happen before all of this is over. One of the stipulations, there's 10 of them, one of them was, America, you want ceasefire? You want peace? Get all of your bases out of the region. Beside the fact they're all destroyed. Our bases are, I don't care what they tell you. I know for a fact. I have secondhand information. Our bases are destroyed. It costs trillions of dollars over years to build those bases. Gone. So Iran says, hey, you want peace? Here's the deal. You get rid of all your bases. And you can kiss my derriere. We're going to have nuclear if we want nuclear. It's not your place to tell us. And we're going to charge for the ships going through the Straits of Hormuz to help compensate for all the damage that you've done to our country and the people that you've killed. A couple more I don't recall, but this is totally unacceptable to our administration. How dare you? The Strait of Hormuz was free before we started this, and we're going to make sure that it's free when we're done. I got to tell you that the president proclaims that we have air superiority, that we dominate the air. I can't attest to that after seeing repeated reports coming in that aircraft are being downed. Very expensive aircraft. And God help the pilots. We were dragged into a war by Israel. How many of you know that during the Iraq testimonies that there was giving before Congress, there was a young girl, I would say maybe 13, 14, 15, maybe, testifying that she had seen these people in the government come into a hospital, grab babies from incubators and throw them on the ground to die, as tears rolled down her face. And she said she saw all of this. Anybody check it out? I did. She's an actress. She's a child actress. There was no such action. More lies. More lies to add to the lies of the WMD, to make it justifiable to go into another country and literally create hell for those people. Literally. Went to Venezuela, decided that we were going to kidnap their president, made it look like walk in the park from what is reported. They're in, they're out, it's over, he's here. And we're told that he was being arrested because he's a narco-terrorist. Now, those who are not familiar with the term or what it means, it's somebody who pushes so much narcotics and illegal contraband that it raises the death toll to a terrorist level. So they said he was a narco-terrorist. But yet we had the president of Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Portugal. Arrested for the same thing. Illegal guns, cocaine, tons of cocaine. I may be exaggerating with the tons, but it was a lot of cocaine, lots and lots of cocaine. This was a president of another country, right? Arrested him, had him in prison, and Trump turned him loose, right? Pardoned him. So we went one way halfway around the world, and we kidnapped a president from that country. Then we went the other way halfway around the world and thought we were going to do the same thing. We were just going to step in, kill Ayatollah Khomeini, and all the people were going to rise and we're going to say, thank you. Oh, great Trump. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It didn't go that way. Now he has little to no choice. This is my opinion. In his mind, he has little to no choice. He will not walk away from this thing as a loser. He will not. It's not in his book. It's not in his fiber, his makeup. He must be a winner. He must show the world that he has won. When a man says he's going to destroy an entire civilization on one of the holiest Christian days, I don't know what's happened to him. I really don't. I pray for the man. If he's been possessed, a double, maybe he's been compromised. He's got a big family. I don't know. Certainly doesn't seem like the man that was running for president. Doesn't seem like the guy that was there the first time around. Doesn't seem that way. And there are many people regarding this war that don't want anything to do with this war. We have Iraq. I think I mentioned earlier, Iraq and Saudi Arabia and several others that have joined the side of Iran. They have realized that we have bases there in their country to protect them. Didn't protect spit. Started moving equipment from their place in the bases over to Israel to protect Israel. That went over real good, didn't it? So these Arab countries are coming to the conclusion, you know what, why do we have these guys here? They're here to protect us, but they're not protecting us. And they seem to stick their nose into everybody's business. I wonder how long it'll be before they stick their nose into ours. Saudi Arabia and Jordan. And, well, we've already done Syria, so they're out of the way. They're starting to realize that the United States is just basically a bully. Just a big bully. A big planetary bully. I've been saying this for a long time and I've caught a lot of grief. I have had people literally curse me to my face when I say things like this. If you will take the time to look at the facts, forget opinions, forget theories, look at the facts. We have been constantly in some kind of conflict of some sort. Every freaking year we have been in as a country, except for maybe 2 or 3. Literally, look it up. We jump from one thing to another, and we've always got justification. My question, what about us? What about the people who pay the price for all of this? The financial cost, the emotional cost, the physical and mental cost, because we can't pay our bills anymore. Everything is rising, continuing to rise. I had one of my friends who did not vote for him say, well, see, you get what you voted for, didn't you? No, I didn't vote for this. That's not what I voted for. And I venture to say if you ask 100 Trump supporters, they would pretty much agree with me. We did not vote for this. We did not vote for going into another war after you told us no new wars. One of the main things that people supported you for, no new wars. You combine that with don't want to release the Epstein files, and then the Epstein files are boring, we need to move on. We're not moving on. How convenient it was that you started a war when all of the pressure from the Epstein files was building. People believed that it was a distraction to keep the files in the background, and like 9/11, we'll just forget about it after a while. We're not forgetting about it. We're not letting it go. I, for one, refuse to let it go. And I'm not the only one. We must be responsible enough to stick up for those voices who are no longer with us. Somebody abused little babies. Little babies. I want to know who that was. I want to make sure that if they're really guilty of what the reports say, that they spend the rest of their lives behind prison in the most torturous way possible. I really would prefer that they would be hung, but we're too merciful for that. So we were able to go to one side of the planet, kidnap a president, go to the other side of the planet, start an entire freaking war, which really is not even close to being settled, and actually is even more exploding. We can do all this shit, but we can't go get the people in the files. We can't get the traitors from Crossfire Hurricane. We still have what was it he said? Irrefutable, I believe was the word that was used. Irrefutable proof that people within the politic industry have committed treason. Nobody. This is what you're saying. Nobody. It's not right. I'm not the only one who feels that way. More and more people are coming to the conclusion something within our government is very, very, very dirty. So I've been sharing with you guys part of the going to war part. A lot of it is psychological, right? Iran is just kicking buns when it comes to mocking Trump. I got several of them I'm going to share with you. This is a short one. I thought I may have shared this one. Wait a minute. Oh, it's really short.
Woo! Boom! 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 Boom!
Mr. President, it's time.
Okay. Iran lost their Navy. They've lost their Air Force. They have no radar. We won.
See, they know. Okay, they're mocking him, but they're also sending a message. You see how he says we won at the end? It's obvious he didn't win. But he's got to be able to tell the world that he has won. They're doing a jam-up job of mocking him, I'll tell you. Then we also have people within the military. Now, when you have people within the military, let's see if I have that. When you have people within the military who are saying, we're refusing to go do this. This is not our battle. All it takes is just a little bit of critical thinking, just a little common sense for people, okay? Think about this for a moment. How is this war helping us? In what way, shape, or form is this war helping us? People tell me, oh, it's better to fight them over there than to fight them over here. We haven't fought them over here in what? decades. So what value is it? It's costing us in lives, which is irreparable. What in the world is that? I have no idea where that came from. Holy smokes. Wow. I, wow. What the hey? I don't even know how that happened. I'm shocked. I'm telling you, that was not on my computer. There was no way for me to stop it. I just pulled up my task managers. There's nothing running that was playing that. Okay. Wow. I'm a little shook up. I built my first computer in 1987, so I know a little, maybe not the latest technology because I've been away from it for a couple of years, but I know a little bit about computers. I know what it takes to do what just happened. Wow. Okay. Before I was so rudely interrupted, God, for the life of me, I was sharing with you that we have people in the military that are refusing to go to war. They're recognizing that this is not our fight. And they're standing up for it. And it's not just one or two.
At least 30 generals have refused to execute Trump's orders to commit war crimes and send U.S. ground forces to Iran. At least 30. So far, 12 of them have been fired, including the commander of the U.S. Army Ground Forces. The rest of the generals will also be dismissed. Pretty much every commander who controls ground forces has to go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pure, unadulterated fascism. If J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio have any smidgen of a conscience or any smidgen of a desire for future political office, they will assemble the cabinet, use the authority of the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, and remove Trump from office. After that, he must be arrested, prosecuted, convicted of war crimes, and sent to prison. We must end the lawlessness of Washington, D.C., and bring the rule of law back to America.
What about the Epstein files? I mean, if Trump is truly guilty of all of this stuff, if he really is, because they tell you he's guilty of this and he's guilty of that, it's all a bunch of garbage. But if he really is guilty of war crimes, and I don't know the law that well. I know that, in my opinion, should have never went to Iran. And I've played on my show several times the video of General Wesley Clark, who gives in an interview gives testimony that he saw documents saying that we were going to invade 7 countries in 5 years. And when he asked why, and I'm paraphrasing, he was told, well, we got a strong military and we can overthrow governments. And if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything else has to be a nail. And the last one on the list is guess who? Guess who? Iran. And so I believe, well, before I say that, let me back up a moment. You're in a relationship with someone, a very important relationship. And trust is number one. You have found out that this individual has lied to you repeatedly. Not only have they lied to you repeatedly, but they have done it purposefully in order to get something that you have. Now, the relationship, for whatever reason, it continues. because the relationship continues, are you going to continue to trust that individual? Because if you do, you're in for a world of hurt. And not just trade that, instead of individuals, trade it for governments. Our government has repeatedly lied to us, repeatedly. This isn't a theory. This is an opinion. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. Repeatedly lied to us for whatever reason. Now all of a sudden they're telling you the truth? After all the lies they told us, after all the wars they've gotten us into, now we're telling you the truth. And the bottom line is, it is not helping us at all. It is hurting us. It is hurting our status around the world. Countries are, particularly Arab countries, are looking at us with a second thought going, why are we involved with these people? For 50 frickin' years, they have stuck their noses in all of our business. Who are they to come halfway around the planet and tell us what to do, how to live our lives? So you got 30 generals that are backing away. We're not doing it. Who are we fighting for? What kind of people are we fighting for? I have been raked over the coals because I dared to say something that was negative about the state of Israel. I started doing it many, many years ago, but I had to kind of back off a little bit because I got so much grief. It just wasn't worth the fight because hardly anybody else would realize what I was saying. Oh, you just don't like Jews. Oh, give me a break. One of my girlfriends was Jewish. No, it's not. I don't like Jews. Beside the fact that the problem that we're facing is not really Jews. If you have the true Jews, the Jews who follow the Torah, they're typically the ones who are against all of this. Then you have people who call themselves Jews, who follow the Talmud, who basically, I may be wrong, but I think they're Zionists. And maybe the mission of Zionism at one time may have been something good, but it no longer is. These Zionists literally want to control the world, literally. And sadly, they have too much, way too much influence over our government. Way too much influence. But they call themselves Jews, and they clothe themselves with the Star of David and cry victim, victim, victim. However, they are, I'm trying to think of the right word so I don't get in trouble, allegedly committing genocide before the world. They have leveled Gaza. Then we have President Trump talking about, well, we're going to rebuild Gaza. We're going to make it some kind of lavish something or other. What about the people? What happens to the people? People would just take the time. Take a look at this. This is what Israel has done to Palestine, because that's what it was before a rich family, very, very, very rich family, decided to get with some powerful people and take the land from Palestine and call it Israel. Look at what they've done. And now they're doing that to Lebanon. Now they're claiming Lebanon. And they want part of Syria. And if I'm not mistaken, they're going to take part of Jordan if they get their way. It's called the Greater Israel Expansion, something or another. I think it's something like that. So in order for Israel to expand, they have to take land. They have to take somebody's land. And these sick, twisted, no good for nothing, sewer sucking, psychotic bastards think that God has told them they can do whatever they want. Huh? You have people who believe that you and me, because we're not Jewish, and anybody who's listening is not Jewish, who doesn't follow the Talmud like they do, we're not of their cloth, as they like to refer to. We're goyim. We're cattle. We're garbage. They can do to us whatever they want. This is what they believe. That we are their property, if you will. We're the slaves. Think I'm making it up?
We Jews are God's chosen people, and the Gentiles must learn their purpose in life is to fight and die for Israel.
The irony of this is that we are all God's chosen people. We are all children of God, of source, of nature. No one person is more important than another. We all have a divine role to play on this. And sacrificing your life for another country, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
But you see what he said in the beginning, right? It's our responsibility. Why? Because we're the garbage. So when I say to you Israel is the problem, I don't mean the people. I don't mean the real Jews. I mean the Zionists. I mean the ones who clothe themselves with the Jewish star. But their father is the devil. They are of the synagogue of Satan. And people wonder, no, that's not right. People don't wonder. How did all this start? Oh, well, it's the Muslims against the Jews. It's the Muslims want to kill. They say death to America, death to Israel. You hear them chant it all the time. Anybody ever stop and wonder why? Why? Did they wake up one morning and go, hey, it's kind of boring. Death to America, death to Israel. That ought to give us some excitement. They just didn't have anything better to do, so they decided to just start chanting death to America and death to Israel. Think about it.
Why did the Palestinians initiate this war with their vicious attack on Israelis on October 7th?
Well, they didn't. This war has been going on for 75 years. Israel initiated it in 1948 by ethnically cleansing 750,000 people. They were under military occupation until 1966. Then in 1967, Israel violently, in a war it initiated, occupies Gaza, occupies the West Bank, occupies the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights in East Jerusalem, and then invades Lebanon in 1982, attacking Palestinian refugees there, puts Gaza under siege in 2005. No one can get in or out without Israeli military permission. So this didn't come out of a vacuum. You're not going to be able to hold people under siege, to cut them off from the world, and then expect them to just play along. This didn't start on October 7th, and it's not going to end when there's a ceasefire.
Just a fact. It was Palestine. If you look in the books, in any of the history books that haven't been compromised, it was called Palestine. The maps showed it as Palestine. In 1917, some very powerful people came together and came up with this thing called the Balfour Agreement. Pretty sure that's the one. And the Balfour Agreement in 1917 said that the Jewish people were to have their own country, state, whatever you want to call it. I think they call it a state. So in 1947, I think, 47, I think, is when it started, and 48 is when it was declared a state. So you can see the plan was decades in place, decades. So there's something that they're planning today may not be happening for decades from today. So 3 decades later, they decide to take the land from Palestine and call it Israel. And when they first moved in, when these Jewish people that first moved in, I don't know if I have that video, they were basically Europeans. They weren't really Semites. They were adopted into the Jewish religion. And as they moved in, they continued to take more and more land from the Palestinians. And so a resentment occurred. So if somebody moved in to your country and took your property, took your home from you and said, well, God gave me this. It's not yours, it's mine because I said God gave it to me. How does that make you feel? And if you revolt against that, then you are declared a terrorist. And we'll just shoot you right here on the spot if you don't leave. And that's what happened many, many times over and over. They took people's land. They took generations and generations of homes. Some of them absolutely destroyed. Others, they just, hey, this is not your house, get out. All right, let's see what else I can do. I said that they're trolling him, right? They're just doing this jam-up job of trolling.
You ran to China, you begged on your knees.
Please be my friend.
Please, China, please. You called Moscow, you cried on the phone. Please mediate for me. I'm all alone. But here's the news you don't want to hear. The strait is moving.
Ships are here. China passes, Japan passes, India too.
Fake peace. Fake peace. Not for you.
Fake peace, fake peace.
No release.
Open for the world, but for you,
no Greece.
Iran said, everyone's welcome. Come trade, come through.
But you and Israel,
sorry,
not for you.
Fake peace, fake peace.
10 days and gone, you cry to everyone from dusk to dawn. The strait is open for the human race.
Fake peace.
Go cry in your place. You stabbed them twice while they sat at the table. You talked about peace, but your aim was unstable. You sent the bums with your little friends' help. Now you want to pass. Go box somewhere else. The strait is open for China, for Japan, for France, for every ship that wants to dance. But when you come with your golden crown, fake peace. Fake peace.
Sit down.
Open for the world, open for trade, open for everyone. That's how it's played. China ships, Japan ships, India's fleet. The whole world moves, you taste defeat.
Fake peace, fake peace.
Hear that sound? That's your empire flushing down. You beg for mediation, you begged for a deal, but the strait says no, and that's real.
Fake peace, fake peace.
No release.
Open for the world, but for you,
no Greece.
Iran said, everyone's welcome. Come trade, come through.
But you and Israel,
sorry,
not for you.
Fake peace, fake peace.
10 days and gone, you cry to everyone from dusk to dawn. The strait is open for the human race.
Fake peace.
Go cry in your place. You went to Shi, you went to the Saud, you went to Turkey, you begged so hard. You went to Qatar, you went to Oman, everyone said sorry, done, not in the plan. Iran didn't move, Iran didn't blink, Iran sat calm while you cried in the sink. Your 10-day peace died on day one.
Fake peace.
Fake peace. Now what have you done?
Fake peace.
The world is moving, Donald.
Fake peace.
China ships, Japan ships, India ships. Everyone's passing through the strait, everyone, except you and your little friend. That's not fake, that's real.
Fake peace.
Fake release. Never.
I'll tell you, they're doing a good job. When it comes to mocking him, they're doing a good job. Oh. So, on a more serious side, those who have had any experience in reading the Bible and some of the stories that come out of the Bible know that in the Bible it says our fight is not so much physical, it's really spiritual. It's a spiritual fight against powers and principalities. And that our way around that fight, our way to be able to combat that fight is through prayer. Now, if people question that a man who walked the face of the earth, we call him Jesus. In Aramaic, I believe it's Yeshua. And in in Arabic it's Yeshua. I think it's in Aramaic, I think it's Yahusha. This man walked the face of the earth, performed miracles, did things that no other man has ever done, claimed to be the Son of God. And people, I don't want to say doubt it. They have a difficult time understanding it because it's something that you would see in a science fiction film, right? Well, something showed up years back in Italy, and it was the linens that allegedly was the wrappings of this man called Christ. And so they termed it the Shroud of Turin. That was the name of the city where it was being kept. Well, some people went to go check this thing out. And they figured it was a fake of some sort, and we'll be able to figure out it's a fake. And we'll take some pictures and we'll prove it. They tried very, very hard to prove that it was fake. They didn't do a very good job. What happened was, the more that they investigated, the more that it was shown to be something that was extraordinary.
1 in 200 billion. It would take 34,000 billion watts of energy traveling at 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of a fine linen shroud to leave that image. And he said, we don't have that power on Earth. So a nuclear event happens. He works with one of the most powerful lasers on Earth. They grew a sample. It took 5 years to get a first century model of a shroud, and they would beam their lasers, Eric Jumper and John Jackson. They're at the Air Force Academy. They're physicists. They're analyzer. Have you ever heard of a VP8 image analyzer? This guy has a VP8 image analyzer, and he takes a photo of the shroud from 1931, the Henri photo. We cannot explain how a 2,000-year-old burial cloth has 3D information encoded in it. There's Bruno Barberis. He takes all of the information that I just showed you on the cross, the wound patterns, the crown of thorns, and he assigns as a mathematician a probability to it. And Bruno says, Jeremiah, there is a 1 in 200 billion chance it is not the historical Jesus. 1 in 200 billion. Billion, based on his mathematical probability. And so then I asked him, because, people are dumb and sometimes you have to ask questions to bring your audience along, or they just need to hear it a different way. I said, so Bruno, are you saying that you believe that this was the Jesus of the Bible who was crucified and who this image is? He said, yes. How can I not believe that? The probability compels me to believe. He put his hands up like that. And so the shroud is mentioned in all 4 Gospels. All four Gospels tell us that Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, two members of the Sanhedrin, ask Pilate for the body of Jesus. Pilate is shocked that he is so quickly dead. We can talk about the brutality of crucifixion later if you want to. And this was an amazing act of courage and faith, because according to Jewish tradition, if the Sanhedrin condemned a criminal to death, it was on the Sanhedrin to bury that criminal. Jesus is not buried honorably, but he's buried properly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
He's not given an honorable burial. He's given a proper burial. And Joseph of Arimathea, who is a wealthy man, has a linen shroud of fine linen. He didn't go out to Walmart. You know, the Walmart or Target wasn't open on Friday afternoon before Shabbat and Passover, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He had already purchased this for his own death planning. In fact, he said, better yet, we'll use my family tomb. So they a lot of this was just expediency, because according to Jewish burial traditions, which I'm an expert in, you had to bury on the day of death before nightfall. This is Shabbat, and this is Passover. That's how we can date. We can talk about how we can date the crucifixion. We know the exact date of it. So they wrap Jesus's body in this fine linen shroud, which is called sindon in Greek, according to the Greek New Testament. Then they use athonia, that's another Greek word, strips. So they wrap the whole body with fine linen, one continuous sheet, and then they wrap the feet and the hands and probably even the face, just to, so your body, just to protect to dignify the body. They place that 200 feet away in Joseph of Arimathea's family tomb. He's in the tomb for 39 hours, Sean. And then something absolutely miraculous and powerful happens. According to my other friend, Paulo de Lazzaro of Aeneas Laboratories outside of Rome, the amount of energy it would take to see what I just showed you on the shroud, an image that is superficial. It's only 0.02 microns thin. We could shave it off, Sean, with a knife. That's how superficial the image is. Science has proven it's not paint, it's not pigment, it's not dye. There are no brush strokes. It doesn't absorb like the blood does. Why? The blood was there before the resurrection. This superficial image is there. Paulo took 5 years. Of course, I met with him, interviewed him. And Paulo says, Jeremiah, it would take 34,000 billion watts of energy traveling at 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of a fine linen shroud to leave that image. And he said, we don't have that power on Earth. So a nuclear event happens on Sunday, April 5th, AD 33. And that's why I tell people the Shroud of Turin is not a death cloth. It is a resurrection cloth. And better yet, it is an itemized receipt of how much Jesus loves you, Sean.
What do you mean by a nuclear event? What do you mean by that? You mean he just dissipated out of the...
That is a great question. What I mean by a nuclear event, I'm saying that in short form because according to the physicists, the amount of energy it would take, because there's no pigment, because there's no dye, because there's no paint, science has proven and published that. Science has to ask, how is this image there? And there was a chemical change to the shroud that if it would have been lasted longer than 1/40th of a billionth of a second, it would have scorched. It would have just burned up. It would have been gone. And so what, for the physicists watching, this is called
Did you
peak
say
power.
1/40th of a second?
A billionth of a second.
1/40th of a
billionth of a second. So it was a cold power that, I mean, faster than a blink of an eye, 1/40th of a billionth of a second, but it was the amount of energy, 34,000 billion watts. And he has a weapons clearance, Paulo de Lazzaro. So he works with one of the most powerful lasers on Earth. And I actually have, they grew fine linen, they grew a sample. It took 5 years to get a 1st century model of a shroud, and they would beam their lasers, and they were only able to change a postage size stamp size. You just looked at a 14 by 14, 3 by 7 full shroud that has an image on it. We don't have that power on Earth. So here's how I like to put it. If the Big Bang created the Earth, the resurrection of Jesus Christ was the Big Bang that resurrected and redeemed the Earth. and you and me.
Wow.
That's what I mean by a nuclear event. It's the best way to explain it. And so I've met with the scientists, you would love this, from Sandia Labs. I've met with the scientists from Los Alamos Laboratories.
No kidding.
The Jet Propulsion Laboratories. These are the greatest scientists on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So in the shroud, one of the really fascinating things that I've not been able to share on other shows is we have to ask, like, what kicked off the scientific exploration of the shroud? Do I have a minute to share this? Is that
Absolutely.
all right? 'Cause this is unbelievable. In 1976, two physicists are at Sandia Labs, Eric Jumper and John Jackson. They're at the Air Force Academy. They're physicists, they're professors. They have an VP8 image analyzer. Have you ever heard of a VP8 image analyzer?
I have not.
Okay, a lot of people haven't. This is where the nuclear bombs are being developed and with more precision. The VP8 image analyzer is designed to study what happens to the surface of the Earth after a nuclear explosion. It actually looks at depths of light, field, topography, all of that. Well, this guy has a VP8 image analyzer, and he takes a photo of the shroud from 1931, the Henri photo. I had mentioned, we'll talk about the different photos that have been taken of the shroud. So he doesn't have the actual shroud. He just has a photo of the shroud that he puts through the VP8 image analyzer in 1976. Sean, they are blown away because there is 3D encoding on the shroud. There is a topography, almost a holographic nature to it that shows depths of light, even where there shouldn't be, where the body wasn't even touching the shroud. Then they put a picture of like their grandchildren through it. It's a distorted image. No other image on Earth has 3D encoding that is holographic in nature. And that is what kicked off the scientific study in 1978.
Just a picture?
Just a picture. Incidentally, here's a cool factoid.
So was that picture a miracle, or could you, I mean, the whole
Any
thing
picture
is,
would have
right?
done it. Well, yeah, I mean,
any photo. So we could take one right now and it would do the same thing.
Yeah, it would do the same thing with a VP8. There's YouTube videos. You can watch Peter Schumacher, great YouTube videos to watch him doing this, where he can show the depths of light, the topography. And this is where I'm so thankful we have this time, because sometimes I don't have time to get to this, how wild this is, how unique it is, how unbelievable. How I explain it is a natural effect, the shroud is, of the supernatural event of the physical bodily resurrection of Jesus. And science proves that. We're not talking in some kind of theological Christianese right now. I'm quoting physicists. And so that happens in 1976. Which the whole world sees and says, what is this? We cannot explain how a 2,000-year-old burial cloth has 3D information encoded in it that looks like a holograph. This is like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah, no kidding.
So 2 years later, in 1978, the STURP team, the Shroud of Turin Research Project, comprised of 33 scientists, they go to Turin, Italy. They have approval to study the shroud for a little over 100 hours. There's pictures of them literally sleeping on cots. So they take pictures of it. They get pollen spores. They get all of the samples and they look at it and their minds are blown away. Barry Schwartz, who I talked to on the phone, he's now dead. He was a Jew. And he came to believe that the shroud was authentically Jesus.
No kidding.
And it took him 17 years, Sean, after taking the photo in 1978. So he tells me this firsthand. He says, Jeremiah, we're down in the lobby of the hotel having drinks and just laughing, thinking, man, we got a free trip to Italy out of this deal. Give me 15 minutes in the scientific method, and we will prove the shroud is a forgery. After 15 minutes and after one day, no one was laughing. They slept next to it. They said, we can't explain this. But what got Barry, and so Barry gives the TED Talk on the shroud. So I called literally the TED Talk on the shroud was given by Barry Schwartz. That's how I got my replica. I acquired my replica of the shroud from Barry Schwartz. God bless him. But what turned him and convinced him was the blood type. I just showed you that there is blood all over the shroud. Do you want to know what the blood type is?
What's the blood type?
Type AB blood.
What's the significance of that?
The significance is if there was ever a priestly line of blood, it would be type AB blood. The fewest amount of people in the world have type AB blood. It's Semitic. It's only 6% of the world's population. It's human blood. And what's even crazier is I have a chapter, but actually a chapter contributed at the end of the book by my friend, scholar Doug Powell. We have the face cloth of Jesus, which I can get into if you want. It's been in Oviedo, Spain. It's called the sudarium. That's another Greek term, face cloth that wrapped the face of Jesus. Guess what the blood type is on the sudarium that's been there since the 7th century?
AB.
AB blood. So if you're a medieval forger, how are you going to know about AB blood? How are you going to be able to, you would have to kill someone, Sean. You would have to torture them. The hematological reports, you're getting me all excited now in this conversation. It gives me chills to this day because it does take your breath away. The hematological reports that have studied the blood, the peer-reviewed journals show that Jesus, who I believe is the man of the shroud, he was experiencing high levels of ferritin, so much so that he was experiencing organ failure before he even got to the cross. His creatinine was off the charts. It is a miracle he even made it to the cross based on the demonic flogging that he experienced. And so all of this is there. There's a criminologist by the name of Max Fry, and he takes pollen samples from the shroud. And do you know what he finds out? There are 58 pollens on the shroud. 38 of them are from Jerusalem. They only bloom in springtime during Passover. The rest of the 20 pollens follow the provenance of where the shroud has been for the last 2,000 years.
Are you serious?
Yes, according to Max Fry. So 38 of the 58 pollens on the shroud only bloom in springtime. We know Jesus is crucified. It's the best established fact of the ancient world on April 3rd, AD 33. Sean, if we cannot believe that Jesus was crucified under Roman crucifixion based on the sources and evidence, we shouldn't believe that Caesar crossed the Rubicon in 49 BC. Jesus' death and resurrection is the best evidential fact established from late antiquity, and the evidence bears that out.
Wow. Wow. Man, that is, when I want to go back to the nuclear.
Yes, please.
So how, I mean, they didn't lift the shroud up. It was a nuclear event in one 40th of a billionth of a second.
Billionth of a second, correct, according to the physicists.
And then he's out.
Right.
Where does he go?
So this is what happens. Early Sunday morning, the women are coming to the tomb. We know from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, again, this is April 5th. And what's cool about our broadcast this year, Easter Sunday happens to be April 5th. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the exact day.
Man.
2032, that's 8033.
Probably not a coincidence.
I'm here to blow your mind, by the way. So I'm here to blow everyone's mind because the truth of the resurrection should blow our minds. So the women are going there. We know, according to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, that sunrise on that Easter Sunday would have been a crisp morning in Jerusalem. And the women are hurrying to the tomb. Why? For Jewish burial traditions, Jesus was buried with such haste. He dies at 3, sundown, 6 p.m. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus only have 3 hours to get his body off the cross, to get it buried, and to get it in the tomb. So they did not have time to complete the bodily washing. That's why the women are going to the tomb Sunday morning. Sunrise is at 5:43 in the morning, according to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, on Sunday morning, April 5th, AD 33. They're going there very, very early. They're shocked because the tomb, which would have weighed 2,750 pounds, the stone cover, I've seen a similar one right down from the King David Hotel, where Mary Omni was buried. It wasn't good to be one of Herod the Great's wife. He loved to kill his wives. One said it was better to be Herod the Great's pig than a member of his family because he was such a paranoid person, would kill his family. So rich tomb covers are like that. They're hard to move. The women of this day would have been 4'11", 90 pounds. Remember, they're worried, Sean, who will move the stone away for us? He's married, Jesus, it's kind of shocking. He's buried in a rich man's tomb, a new tomb. This was Arimathea's tomb, Joseph's. They get there, the tomb cover has been blasted away. And I think that's part of what happened. I think the energy, this nuclear event that brought Jesus's physical body back to life, just blew the tomb door wide open. And so Jesus emanates. I want to make this very clear because I had to understand this. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm trying to understand. Does he raise from the dead and then, like Lazarus, have to take off his grave clothes? Like what? No, his body literally emanates through the shroud. So the shroud, we've actually created this in AI. The shroud would have just kind of collapsed. And he would have looked down and seen the shroud, walked right out of the tomb. And he starts with all what we call the appearance tradition. This is the eyewitness appearance tradition. So we have empty tomb tradition for Easter, and we have appearance tradition. We have two lines of witness of the physical bodily resurrection of Jesus.
No matter where you're watching the Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this at all, anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, head to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a review. 1 in 200 billion.
Billion. It would take 34,000 billion watts of energy traveling at 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of a fine linen shroud to leave that image. And he said, we don't have that power on Earth. So a nuclear event happens. He works with one of the most powerful lasers on Earth. They grew a sample. It took 5 years to get a first century model of a shroud, and they would beam their lasers, Eric Jumper and John Jackson. They're at the Air Force Academy. They're physicists, they're professors. They have an VP8 image analyzer. Have you ever heard of a VP8 image analyzer?
I have not.
This guy has a VP8 image analyzer, and he takes a photo of the shroud from 1931, the Henri photo. We cannot explain how a 2,000-year-old burial cloth has 3D information encoded in it. There's Bruno Barberis. He takes all of the information that I just showed you on the cross, the wound patterns, the crown of thorns, and he assigns as a mathematician a probability to it. And Bruno says, Jeremiah, there is a 1 in 200 billion chance it is not the historical Jesus.
1 in 200 billion.
Billion, based on his mathematical probability. And so then I asked him, because, people are dumb and sometimes you have to ask questions to bring your audience along, or they just need to hear it a different way. I said, so Bruno, are you saying that you believe that this was the Jesus of the Bible who was crucified and who this image is? He said, yes. How can I not believe that? The probability compels me to believe. He put his hands up like that. And so the shroud is mentioned in all four Gospels. All four Gospels tell us that Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, two members of the Sanhedrin, ask Pilate for the body of Jesus. Pilate is shocked that he is so quickly dead. We can talk about the brutality of crucifixion later if you want to. And this was an amazing act of courage and faith, because according to Jewish tradition, if the Sanhedrin condemned a criminal to death, it was on the Sanhedrin to bury that criminal. Jesus is not buried honorably, but he's buried properly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. He's not given an honorable burial. He's given a proper burial. And Joseph of Arimathea, who is a wealthy man, has a linen shroud of fine linen. He didn't go out to Walmart. The Walmart or Target wasn't open on Friday afternoon before Shabbat and Passover, okay? Mm-hmm. He had already purchased this for his own death planning. In fact, he said, better yet, we'll use my family tomb. So they wrap, a lot of this was just expediency, because according to Jewish burial traditions, which I'm an expert in, you had to bury on the day of death before nightfall. This is Shabbat, and this is Passover. That's how we can date. We can talk about how we can date the crucifixion. We know the exact date of it. So they wrap Jesus's body in this fine linen shroud, which is called sindon in Greek, according to the Greek New Testament. Then they use a thonia, that's another Greek word, strips. So they wrap the whole body with fine linen, one continuous sheet. And then they wrap the feet and the hands and probably even the face, just to, so your body, just to protect to dignify the body. They place that 200 feet away in Joseph of Arimathea's family tomb. He's in the tomb for 39 hours, Sean. And then something absolutely miraculous and powerful happens. According to my other friend, Paulo de Lazzaro of Enea Laboratories outside of Rome, the amount of energy it would take to see what I just showed you on the shroud, an image that is superficial, It's only 0.02 microns thin. We could shave it off, Sean, with a knife. That's how superficial the image is. Science has proven it's not paint, it's not pigment, it's not dye. There are no brush strokes. It doesn't absorb like the blood does. Why? The blood was there before the resurrection. This superficial image is there. Paulo took 5 years. Of course, I met with him, interviewed him. And Paulo says, Jeremiah, it would take 34,000 billion watts of energy traveling at 1/40th of a billionth of a second to change the chemical makeup of a fine linen shroud to leave that image. And he said, we don't have that power on Earth. So a nuclear event happens on Sunday, April 5th, AD 33. And that's why I tell people the Shroud of Turin is not a death cloth. It is a resurrection cloth. And better yet, it is an itemized receipt of how much Jesus loves you, Sean.
What do you mean by a nuclear event? What do you mean by that? You mean he just dissipated out of the...
That is a great question. What I mean by a nuclear event, I'm saying that in short form because according to the physicists, the amount of energy it would take because there's no pigment, because there's no dye, because there's no paint. Science has proven and published that. Science has to ask, how is this image there? And there was a chemical change to the shroud that if it would have been lasted longer than 1/40th of a billionth of a second, it would have scorched. It would have just burned up. It would have been gone. And so what, for the physicists watching, this is called
Did you just say 1/40th of a second?
A billionth of a second.
1/40th of a
billionth of a second. So it was a cold power that, I mean, faster than a blink of an eye, 1/40th of a billionth of a second. But it was the amount of energy, 34,000 billion watts. And he has a weapons clearance, Paulo de Lazaro. So he works with one of the most powerful lasers on Earth. And I actually have, they grew fine linen. They grew a sample. It took 5 years to get a first century model of a shroud. And they would beam their lasers. And they were only able to change a postage size stamp size. You just looked at a 14 by 14, 3 by 7 full shroud that has an image on it. We don't have that power on Earth. So here's how I like to put it. If the Big Bang created the Earth, the resurrection of Jesus Christ was the Big Bang that resurrected and redeemed the Earth and you and me.
Wow.
That's what I mean by a nuclear event. It's the best way to explain it. And so I've met with the scientists, you would love this, from Sandia Labs. I've met with the scientists from Los Alamos Laboratories.
No kidding.
The Jet Propulsion Laboratories. These are the greatest scientists on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So in the shroud, one of the really fascinating things that I've not been able to share on other shows is we have to ask, like, what kicked off the scientific exploration of the shroud? Do I have a minute to share this? Is that
Absolutely.
all right? This is unbelievable. In 1976, two physicists are at Sandia Labs, Eric Jumper and John Jackson. They're at the Air Force Academy. They're physicists, they're professors. They have an VP8 image analyzer. Have you ever heard of a VP8 image analyzer?
I have not.
Okay, a lot of people haven't. This is where the nuclear bombs are being developed and with more precision. The VP8 image analyzer is designed to study what happens to the surface of the Earth after a nuclear explosion. It actually looks at depths of the light, field, topography, all of that. Well, this guy has a VP8 image analyzer.
Didn't realize it was doubling over.
A photo of the shroud
from
1931, the Henri photo.
Down.
I'd mentioned, we'll talk about the different photos that have been taken of the shrouds.
So if anybody had any doubts that a man by the name of Jesus, who we call Jesus or Yeshua or Yahushua, I think is how it's pronounced, existed, there is a linen in Italy called the Shroud of Turin that to this day we're not able to duplicate whatever it was that caused the image to be impregnated, impressed, I guess is the correct word, on that linen. We're still not able to do it today. And they've had AI look at it an AI came up with a face. I don't think I have that one. Came up with a face of Christ. So the war that was going on is based in a spiritual realm. Yes, there's a physical aspect to it, but the roots are from a spiritual realm. And we were told by the man who said he was the Son of God that the most important thing we can do is love God with all our hearts and all our might. And we're supposed to do that to our neighbor as well as ourselves. And that's pretty hard to do. Sometimes if you have a neighbor who really doesn't give a spit about your property or your feelings. But we're supposed to pray for him. We're supposed to love him. And in doing so, hopefully the Spirit of God will touch them. And they'll change from their wicked ways. Just a short video gets you to think a little bit. Think carefully. How is this helping us? I can't think of one way that this is helping us. And those people who try to convince you that, oh, well, it's making us safer, it's endangering us even more. We know that there are sleeper cells here. So if these people in Iran decide that, hey, you know what, it's time to bring up the sleeper cells and make the Americans pay. So far, they have made an open statement saying that their fight is not with the American people. It's with the Epstein. I can't help but laugh because it's so disgusting, but that's how they think of them. The Epstein gang, that's what they called them. It's the Epstein gang. This is how we're seen around the world. Pedophiles, pedivores, human and drug traffickers, criminals. But we're calling other governments animals. You know, you could go to there's a variety of places you could go here in the United States and just focus on that one place and make a news story and go to another country that's all powerful like America and say, look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. We need help. I don't think that life was as horrible as they describe it to be in Iran. I'm not sticking up for Iran. I'm sticking up for the truth. I'm not saying life was a walk in the park, but it certainly wasn't anything like what they were describing. I played the video for you that showed upon the coming out of Israel, 750,000 Palestinians slaughtered. What do you think that did in the Arab community? Watching that go down. You think that created love? You know, if it were me and watching all of that go down and maybe some of my relatives involved in that, I don't think I would be loving Israel very much. And I don't think I would be loving anyone who supported Israel. And there is your reason for death to Israel and death to America. That's not the only reason. I mean, I mentioned to you earlier, we stick our noses in everybody's business over there. And it's all about national security. No, it isn't. It's all about making some very rich people even more rich. It's disgusting. Some of these people have enough money that they'll never run out of money. They could never, ever, ever. They could have a family of 100 people and they would still not run out of money. Every one of them would have multi-million-dollar accounts. But it's not enough. They always want more. They're always willing to risk your life or my life or anybody else's blood, as long as it's not theirs. So I'm playing this again because I won't mention the name, but one of my Facebook followers said, I told them that I have a video that says Netanyahu was paying millions and millions of dollars to Hamas. Who was the guilty party that we were told that massacred everybody on October the 7th in Israel? I don't know.
Netanyahu was all the time helping Hamas to survive.
He arranged for Hamas to receive $35 million every month from Qatar.
Suitcases of money was given to Hamas under the request of Benjamin Netanyahu personally. And because the Qatarians knew him from the beginning, they were asking him to send them his requests in writing because they knew that he's going to lie in the future.
He allowed more than 1 billion to be transferred to the hands of the Hamas because he believed that he can control the level of hatred.
Your strategy was sustain the extremists, weaken the moderate. This exploded in our faces in the most brutal way on October 7th.
And there are soldiers, IDF soldiers, several of them who have come out and said, we were told not to patrol. In other words, we were told to stand down. We were told not to patrol that area at a particular time on that day. Meanwhile, we have Netanyahu making sure that Hamas gets millions and millions and millions of dollars. If they're his enemy and they're out to torture all of his people, why would you give them money? I believe that the reason that that's going down is that they needed the justification to continue the genocide in Gaza. We're defending ourselves. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to play another one for you. The level of mocking that the Iranians are doing is outstanding. I just
ندارد بهره از زندگی خونی که جاری نیست با خیزی باید بغض را در زخم حل کردن که جنگ است و نباشد فرصت زانو بغل کردن حیدر 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 قرآن رو پیدا کن خدا را در به زلگاهش ببین نصر من الله هست و در انتنصر اللهش بگو با آن که در این گره حیران و هراسان است که پیروزی ایمان وعده قطعی قرآن است حیدر 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 حسین ابن علی پیراهنی از پت برتن کرد و او تکلیف عالم را به روی نیزه روشن کرد حسین آمد که دل خالی شود از ناامیدی ها دو صف کرده است دنیا را حسینی ها یزیدی ها حیدر حیدر نام نامی حیدر نبرد آغاز می گردد علی با ذوالفقار خود به خیبر باز می گردد بگو فرعون را موسی به سوی نیل می آید علی با ذوالفقار خود به اسرائیل می آید حیدر 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 اگر دنیا هم آید پشتتان ما 5 تن داریم اگر دنیا هم آید پشتتان ما 5 تن داریم شما سنگر شکن دارید ما خیبر شکن داریم حیدر 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 طوفان پایانی در آن پایان طوفانی اگر که شاهنامه خوانده باشی خوب میدانی ته این ماجرا پایان رزم رستم و دیو است از این پس یک هدف داریم و آن قلب تلاویو حیدر حیدر حیدر
They're putting it in there. I don't know what happened here. Let me there we go. They're doing a jam up job. Marking him away. I mentioned earlier that the upper echelon, some of the upper echelon in the military is telling the boys, the lower echelon, this is a holy war. That Donald Trump has been chosen by God to bring about this war so we can cause Armageddon and cause a return.
What does that mean, ushering in the Antichrist?
There's a group that wants to retake that promised land. They do believe this book has significant power, and so they want to reclaim it. And they're using dispensationalist arguments to do that.
For the sake of controlling the world.
For the sake of controlling the world.
I mean, that's just so clearly true. It grieves me to say that I think the President of the United States may not fully understand that theology or that argument, but clearly sees this war in Iran as a way to achieve power over the world. There's no doubt in my mind.
The beautiful saving grace of this book is being weaponized to do it.
Taking bits and pieces of it and then using it for their advantage. Like I mentioned to you earlier, many of these people who call themselves Jews, they're not Jews, they're Zionists. They're using the victim mentality of Jews because we have never been allowed to refrain from the 7 million Jews that were killed in Germany. It kind of drilled into everybody so that you don't forget 7 million. And because of that, they're using that. Whatever the Germans did to the Jews are doing to the Palestinians times 10. No mercy. And the lies. So this is Franklin Graham praying before we go to war. Let me just play it.
Persians, the Iranians, were wanting to kill every Jew, woman, child, and do it all in one day. But you raised up Esther to save the Jewish people. Father, we thank you. Today, the Iranians, the wicked regime of this government wants to kill every Jew and destroy them with an atomic fire. But you have raised up President Trump. You've raised him up for such a time as this. And Father, we pray that you'll give him victory. Father, we pray for our military that you'd watch over, protect them. Father, we pray for the people of Iran who want freedom to be set free from these Islamic lunatics. Father, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who came to this earth to take our sins, that he died and shed his blood on a cross for our sins, that he was buried. He took our sins to the grave, but you raised him to life. And Father, we thank you and we praise you and we give you the glory. Father, protect President Trump. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
First of all, he said they want to kill all the Jews. Well, they're going to have a hard time proving that because there is a large Jewish population that lives in Iran. There's also a Christian population that lives in Iran. So if they want to kill all the Jews, why didn't they start in their own country? Why don't they kill the Jews in Iran? I don't know. And then they call them, I don't remember the word he used, basically crazy. Crazy. These people are crazy. What are we? Pedivores, pedophiles, human and drug traffickers. We're better than there. Like I said, it's just a little critical thinking, a little common sense. We have no business there. Are you going to tell me, with all the money that we spend on self-defense, that if they had a missile that could reach us from their homeland, that we couldn't tell? We wouldn't, and the moment that thing took off, we would know. What we want from them, or I should say more accurately, what they want from them, was to do what they did in Iraq, to do what they did in Syria, do what they did in Libya. We'll take over the oil, and we'll take over the precious minerals that are there. And we'll use those to pay ourselves back for all of the trouble that we went through to free your people. We look at Libya. We have created a hell in Iraq. We have created a hell in Libya. We're working on creating a hell in Syria. We're not far from it right now. And I guess they got bored because now they want to work on Iran. Create a hell in Iran. More and more people are speaking out and saying, no, we're not doing this. Tucker Carlson has spoken out and put out many videos saying this is wrong. This is not right. We shouldn't be doing this. This is a man who campaigned for President Trump. Now, is he a traitor for standing up and saying this is not right, President Trump? Because that's what they're going to do. They're going to make him a bad boy. How dare him stand up? Let's see if I can get it to come up here.
So Monday, the president, before markets open, which was interesting, announces that the United States is pulling back from his promise to start hitting civilian infrastructure, energy infrastructure in Iran. And we're doing that because we're going to try and find some negotiated settlement. And we've been talking to the Iranians, and there is a way out of this. We don't have to get to the point where we're waging total war, not just against the government of Iran or the Ayatollahs or the theocracy or whatever we say we're doing, but against the people of Iran, turning off their electricity, ending their drinking water, letting them die of exposure or whatever. Total war against a country of almost 100 million people. And nobody wants that, or at least no one should want that. So the president announced, hey, we're in talks, we're pulling back. But within just a couple of hours, our partner in Jerusalem, Benjamin Netanyahu, the guy we're in this war with, issued this statement. Listen carefully.
מוקדם יותר היום שוחחתי עם ידידנו הנשיא טראמפ. הנשיא טראמפ מאמין שיש סיכוי למנף את ההישגים הכבירים של צה"ל וצבא ארצות הברית כדי לממש את יעדי המלחמה בהסכם, הסכם שישמור על האינטרסים החיוניים שלנו. במקביל, אנחנו ממשיכים לתקוף גם באיראן וגם בלבנון. אנחנו קודשים את תוכנית הטילים ותוכנית הגרעין עד דק וממשיכים לפגוע קשות בחיזבאללה. רק לפני ימים אחדים חיסלנו עוד 2 מדעני גרעין והיד עוד נטויה. אנחנו נשמור על האינטרסים החיוניים שלנו בכל מצב.
We're safeguarding our vital interests, the Prime Minister of Israel said, our vital interests. Now, what are those vital interests? Well, no one's really explained that. Not even clear the Israeli public really knows the extent of their own country's, quote, vital interest as envisioned by their prime minister. We're not really sure. But clearly they entail territorial expansion, moving the borders of Israel outward, taking other people's land. And they're saying that in the Israeli government. This is a win because we've moved our borders outward. So we're paying for that. We're making that possible. As Americans die, and a number have died in this war, Israel is using that opportunity, our money, our weapons, the lives of our soldiers, to expand its territory. So that's not our vital interest. You can agree or disagree with that. And by the way, if you've been yelling about the Russian invasion of Ukraine, you should probably yell about this because it's even less defensible, really. But they're saying that, and no one in the US government has told them to stop. And so what does that mean for us? Well, it means that Israel somehow is in control of the course of this war, and they have been since the beginning. We learned this week, for example, that the decision to go into this war and to kill the Ayatollah in the opening hours of this war was made on intelligence, on the basis of intelligence supplied to the US government by Mossad, the Israeli intel agency, not from the CIA. CIA, which no one wants to defend, but in this specific case sounds like was a voice for restraint. And again, that's why we have intel agencies, so they can advise the president about what to do next on the basis of the best available information. That's the idea anyway. And apparently CIA was telling the White House, no, you can kill the head of Shia Islam, but that probably won't topple the government, and there probably won't be in the aftermath of that killing this spontaneous creation of a liberal democracy in Southwest Asia. Probably not going to happen. But Mossad had another scenario. They believed, or said they believed, that knocking off the religious leadership, the head of the snake, in this theocracy would result in spontaneous regime change, and we wouldn't have to really get involved beyond just the initial bombing campaign. And that's very appealing to Americans who fought war from the air for a long time. And that's at this point pretty much the only thing that the American public will accept. You know, a low risk, very expensive, but low risk operation that doesn't take very long, where you achieve your objectives by killing the right people with bombs. But nobody in the United States, well, almost nobody, has any great desire to send U.S. troops. In fact, in June, when the government of Israel and its many paid spokesmen in the United States were pushing for what became the 12-day war, we're just going to take out the nuclear sites, there were people who said, no, that's not what this is. This is a regime change effort. And if pursued, it will wind up with boots on the ground, with the commitment of American troops. And once that happens, it's kind of hard to see how to extricate them. And a lot of them could get killed. And anyone who said that at the time was denounced as crazy, a conspiracy theorist, a grifter. Well, yeah. 9 months later, that's exactly where we are. Today, the head of Mossad, smart, seasoned guy, said that he believes, apparently said this, that he believes regime change in Iran, which is apparently now the stated goal, will require at least a year to change the regime in Iran. So that right there is Israel saying we're going to need the commitment of American troops. Americans are going to have to go there. And surprise, surprise, Americans are going there. There's not been an invasion of Iran, of the mainland or any of the islands in the Persian Gulf just yet, but there is clearly preparation for that. There are many thousands of U.S. troops headed there right now. Some are already stationed in the area. And this looks like the kind of preparation that you would do if you were planning a land assault on a huge mountainous country that's surprisingly cohesive and very well armed. And from what we can tell, there's not a lot of enthusiasm for doing this among people who spend their lives thinking through military tactics and strategy. This doesn't seem like the kind of move that's going to end the war in our favor quickly. It seems like the kind of move that could result in disaster. We pray it doesn't. But that once made will almost certainly result in a long-term commitment to fighting on the ground in Iran, the very thing we were told we were insane to worry about. Now everyone's going to say, oh yeah, it's going to take some boots on the ground. And one of the things you learn as you watch this change, where something that was totally unimaginable and insane, it was space aliens level crazy just 9 months ago to suggest this could happen. One of the things you notice as you watch people now advocate for it, those very same people advocate for this thing that was never going to happen and you were crazy to worry about, is the kind of blasé insouciance that they display, the kind of, boots on the ground, as they call for it. And there's no place where you see this more. The world headquarters for boots on the ground would, of course, be Fox News. So here is Keith Kellogg, retired General Keith Kellogg, who will be 82 years old in a month, telling you that, yeah, boots on the ground, not a big deal. Watch.
I'm a big believer in putting boots on the ground, not necessarily into Iran, but taking Karg Island and also taking the Strait of Hormuz. Look, we kind of need to do it the way the Romans used to do it. You need to put your legions on the ground to secure the territory and give them confidence that they can do it, that we can open up the strait. Look, I know there's risk involved. There's always risk involved, but those kids, those young men and women, they understand the risk involved on taking both Karg and opening up the Strait of Hormuz.
Just got to put boots on the ground. Now, what's interesting is the last line. What's interesting, by the way, that it's Keith Kellogg. Keith Kellogg is one of the reasons there has been no settlement in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. So Keith Kellogg was appointed by the new administration very, very early in January to be the emissary from the White House to Eastern Europe to try and get some kind of deal between Russia and Ukraine. And without getting boring about it, Keith Kellogg is one of the main reasons that we don't have that agreement, and hundreds of thousands of Eastern Europeans, Slavs, Russians and Ukrainians, probably decent kids with nothing to do with starting this war, are dead. And Ukraine is totally destroyed. And Keith Kellogg was never, having talked to him at some length, ever in favor of settling that. And that may or may not be connected to the fact that his daughter works with the Zelensky government. You never want to blame people's relatives for anything, but she's on the record saying, I'm working on my dad to make sure he stays on Ukraine's side. Well, you can't have a side in a foreign conflict if you're an American emissary charged with settling that conflict. The only side you can have is the United States. And Keith Kellogg didn't. So that's shameful. And he's not responsible for that war, and he's not wholly responsible for a failure to settle it. But he's definitely partly responsible for helping to destroy American diplomacy and making the United States globally not a trusted partner in any discussion about anything. Because when you're dishonest with other countries, when you don't state upfront your biases, when you don't do your job, which is to bring resolution to the conflict, people start to figure it out. And all of a sudden, your diplomacy doesn't work. Now, why does this matter? There are a lot of people in the United States who think diplomacy is stupid. Why would we have diplomacy? Are you liberal? No, because diplomacy is a kind of power. In fact, it's a key form of power. In fact, it's the main form of power that big countries get to exercise globally. And it's the power to settle disputes on their terms. So if all of a sudden no one trusts or believes you because you've lied too much, you've been sneaky and tricky and actually working for some third country as you pretended to work for the United States, which has happened, no one wants to deal with you. So why is that bad? Because you're unpopular? No. It's not about popularity. It's about power. Once you lose the power to settle conflicts by negotiation, the only power you have left is armaments. So you better have overwhelmingly superior weapon systems in order to protect your interests, because that's all you have at that point. And it looks like we may not have, short of nuclear weapons, overwhelmingly powerful weapon systems in this or any other theater. Lots of other countries have sophisticated weapons too, conventional weapons. A shockingly large number of U.S. military aircraft apparently have been damaged or downed just in the last month over Iran. That's not good. It's not good at all. But when you don't have credible diplomacy, that's all you have. And Americans get killed, and your power ebbs really fast when they do. And those lives are ended. Not an insignificant problem. Keith Kellogg doesn't seem to be that interested in it. Just put boots on the ground. But the key line in the clip you just saw is the end. He's like, no, these people are really eager to do it. Well, has anyone explained to them, to the people massing in the Persian Gulf, the Americans in uniform, massing, 1st Special Operators and 82nd Airborne or whatever, any part of the gun-toting U.S. military that's massing for whatever's coming, assuming something is, don't know that, seems like it. Has anyone explained to them why we're doing this? Not at the tactical level, like your job is to go in and secure this land, this island or this part of the Iranian mainland, but the strategic goal, like why are we doing this? Probably not. And we know that because no one's explained it to the American population. No one has bothered to explain what the point of this is. And that's a huge problem, not only because it shows that democracy doesn't really work and that the people we thought were in charge probably aren't really in charge. They're taking orders from Benjamin Netanyahu, who got us into this war. They're trying to erase that from history. You'll never see that in Wikipedia. But it's true. That's a fact. And they admitted it. Don't let them steal the truth from you. 10 years from now, they'll be like, what are you talking about, anti-Semite? No, that happened. But is there something in it for us? And has anybody explained to the guys risking their lives and to the rest of the country paying for it and grieving over the loss of our troops, like, what's the point? And no one has. So at that point, you have to wonder, like, is that legitimate? Can you just tell people go do this without explaining why? Well, they signed up for it. No, you still don't treat people like that. You don't treat countries like this. And in the course of all of this, you have to wonder what happens to our country. If there's no stated benefit to us from this war, ask yourself, would you ever do something like this? If it didn't help the country you represented? You probably wouldn't, right? What does that say about how the people in charge feel about our country? Well, you don't have to guess. Look around the country. Thanks for watching. You can go to tuckercarlson.com for our entire library of everything we've done, and we hope you will. So Monday, the president, before markets open, which was interesting, announces.
Okay. So even Tucker Carlson can see that. I want to keep getting a feedback. Even Tucker Carlson can see what's going on. I think over the years, particularly over the last like 3 or 4 years, his eyes have been opened a lot more. He's more. I remember a time when somebody asked him about 9/11, and he just said, "It's whatever the government." Basically, he just said, "It's whatever the government said. We're not going to go into that." Now he questions it. Now he's beginning to see that. Hey, you know what? Maybe they weren't on the level with us when it came to telling us what happened on that day. Maybe. I got a couple more I'm going to play for you, but we'll wait. A couple more of those Legos. I got to tell you, they're doing a jam-up job. Doing a good job on it. But in the process of that, yes. In the process of that, I don't want to forget these files. There are more people now that I have seen posting, do not forget the files. We cannot allow this to be swept under the rug, which is what's happened in many cases. And so there's a fight going on to keep this in the spotlight, to keep people's minds not so much on what happened, not so much on the specifics of what happened, but just that they know something very unspeakably bad happened. And somebody needs to answer for that. On top of that, just because these files have come out doesn't mean that it has all stopped. We are still, I am absolutely positive, there are still people doing those unspeakable things. Until somebody is held accountable, they just continue doing what they're doing. I mean, it's just basic human characterization, isn't it? If you were driving down the road, speed limit's 35 and you're doing 50, and a cop pulls you over and he says, all right, just take it easy, okay? Don't, be on your way. A couple of days later, you're doing 50, he pulls you over again. Hey, man, come on. Be on your way. The day that he pulls you over and writes you a ticket, not only will you be pissed at him, but you should be pissed at yourself. But until that day happens, you just continue doing what you're doing. What's to stop you from doing it? This is what we've run into. Nobody's being held accountable. Nobody. You remember, lock her up. They have the evidence. This is not a theory. It's not anybody's opinion. It's hard evidence. Oh, nobody. Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. Remember that? Nobody. Weiner's laptop. Nobody ever talks about Weiner's laptop. It's been forgotten. Weiner's laptop, from the reports that came forward, has a video on there of Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin literally skinning a girl's face while she's alive and then placing that on their face. It is said that I think there was 11 or 12 detectives that saw these videos and they were physically sickened by what they saw. And many of them have passed away. Something to do with Clinton's and early death.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
So not only were they raping these young women, they were impregnating some of them, then taking the babies and sacrificing them, torturing them to get their adrenaline running. They were told that the babies would suck harder if they heard the voices of their mothers, so they would record their moms. These are sick people. And for us to sit idly by and allow this to continue is a heavy burden to carry. We cannot forget about these files. We must bring these people who are responsible to justice. Otherwise, this is never going to stop. They're really at me tonight.
I was 14 years old. I was 16 years old. I was 16. 17. 14 years old. This is me. This was me.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein.
This is me when I met Jeffrey Epstein. There are about 1,000 of us. It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
Somebody has to stand for what is right. It's not a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Communist. It's none of that. It is what is right. It should anger everybody. Some of the stories that I read, I had to stop reading them. I can't deal with it. I just can't. I don't know how these, maybe they're not human. I'm serious. Maybe they're not human. Maybe they have the outward appearance of a human, but I can't imagine a human would take a baby while it's still connected to the umbilical cord and begin to have sexual intercourse. This cannot be allowed to continue. And as long as we remain silent, that is the condition for them to continue doing what they're doing. Silence is consent. I won't be silent. I refuse. So even if it is actually Trump is involved, so be it. See you bye. If there's evidence, hard evidence that he was part of all of that, I don't want anything. I don't want him to represent our country. That's why these Iranians, they refer to them as the Epstein gang, the rapists, the pedophiles, but we're calling them animals because for thousands and thousands of years, well, maybe not thousands and thousands, for a very long time, a lot longer than we've been in existence, for God's sake, they believe a certain way. We don't agree with it.
This is a photo of John Bonet on the Boulder Police Department website. See the jumper? This is a photo of Jeffrey in 1997, 1 year after John Bonet's body was found. See that he has gray hair? This is an actual Epstein file that you can find on the government website. The number's on the screen. See the jumper? See the blonde hair on the little girl? You see that Jeffrey has gray hair? This is a comment I got on Instagram on a post on the same topic. I'll give you a second to read it. This is the very next Epstein file after the Epstein file I just showed you. And the file number for this one is on the screen as well. Who is she? Who is that little girl? Release the damn files.
John Bonet Ramsey, that's who it is. We cannot allow this to be swept under the rug, people. And the best thing we can do is, for whatever pressure it may create, is to contact our representatives and say, we demand. We're not asking, we're telling you. You're supposed to work for us, you dipsticks. We demand that you release the files, unredacted. You can redact the victims' names and maybe the investigators' names, but everything else we want to see. We want to see who these people, if you want to call them that, are, and see to it that they face justice. Yeah, that little girl, I believe, was John Bonet Ramsey. So I played for you the Sean Ryan clip about the Shroud of Turin and how it is scientifically impossible to recreate that today, that they spent some unbelievable amount of money and power in designing a laser. Oh, caught me off guard. And they can only do a postage stamp size. The Shroud of Turin is like 14 feet long. So you can imagine how much power that took. Let me see. I think I want to do that. Let's bring that up. Another stab at Trump to just kind of make fun of him. They have really gone out of their way to do this. All right, let's see if we can get this to play.
The files cannot be hidden forever. Your secrets are laid bare. This reckoning is yours. What was that? A nightmare? Who's there? That shadow! It's the scandals, the memories. No, I won't let it win. This ends now. No, that's wrong. Sir, can you comment? Fake news. I deny it. The evidence suggests otherwise. Wrong. Totally wrong. The files are multiplying. This is unprecedented. Questions are pouring in. We need answers now. Documents are flooding the screens. The Trump angle won't stop.
People need distraction to forget about this problem. I need to obliterate this situation.
Trump, you cannot escape the truth. People know. It's just a matter of time.
No. Leave me alone. Oh my God, this can't be happening.
What the hell is that? Who is here? Show yourself! Folks, we're here for morning damage control. The fake news is lying. Wrong. We're winning bigly. The people know. Mr. Lowise. Sad. Believe me. Look, files on every phone. Questions everywhere. What does it mean? It's spreading. We have to warn someone. Generals, this is the moment. Mobilize everything. Mr. President, assets are mobilizing. Risk is high. I don't want to hear about risks. Show me the targets. Sir, targets confirmed. Launch protocols ready. Air routes confirmed. Naval group advancing. Missile sites active. Straight highlighted. Threat level elevated. Prepare countermeasures. Roger. Monitoring all movements. I can feel it watching me. This place is haunted. It's right behind me. Admirals, deploy the carriers to the Strait of Hormuz. Now. Yes, Mr. President. Positioning destroyers for escort. Good. I want maximum pressure. Launch the operation. Understood. Fleet is mobilizing. We have reports of heightened military activity in the region, with international forces on alert.
This development could signal a broader strategic response from regional powers.
Situation, and we'll provide updates. Files reveal escalating tensions with Iran.
The files are decrypted. It's worse than we thought. The war map is live. Iran is mobilizing.
Get confirmation. We go live in 30. This is a disaster. A total disaster. Fake news everywhere. They're after me. The military can't handle it. Weak. I need to fix this. Now. Shipping lanes are clear. No anomalies. Confirmed. Radar feeds are stable. Missile positions are optimal. Awaiting orders. Good. Monitor the lanes. Report any changes. The Epstein files. They're not giving up. I know. The papers keep digging. But the real problem is elsewhere. The war? That's the distraction. Exactly. We can't move on.
We are going to win bigly. These people, they're terrible. Believe me. We will win overall. Nobody beats us better. Tremendous. The best. Thank you. Load those missiles. Move it. Pylon secured. Next jet. All birds loaded. Stand by.
The plan is set. We move at dawn.
What is that? Can't you see it?
They cannot see me, Donald.
This is impossible. Get out. Oil is spiking. Get the brokers on the line. Markets are tanking. Sell everything now. It's a bloodbath. We have to cut losses. This is total meltdown. Get out.
Routes are locked. ETA is 1432. Target acquisition is at 98.
Red icons are multiplying. Phase 2 is active. All systems green. Strike is imminent.
People need to forget about these files. They need to move on.
Convoy, proceed to grid delta. Systems check. Missile platforms locking. Gyros stable. Warheads armed. Awaiting coordinates. All units, readiness confirmed. No justice, no peace, and the corruption. Peace for all, the world within. Engines to full. Clear the area.
Copy. Throttles advancing.
Afterburners lit. Go, go. Oil prices are skyrocketing. We need to stabilize the market.
Our fleet must deploy to the Gulf now. That's too aggressive. It could escalate the conflict.
Sir, we need your order. Mr. President, please. Oil spiking! It's chaos! Stocks are free falling! Sell! 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 This is a total meltdown!
The files are everywhere. Ratings are spiking.
But war is escalating. We must lead with thank my conspiracy.
Not conspiracy! Switching feeds! Warbuck is panicking! It's total chaos!
Enough! I want those files on my desk now! Do it, or you're fired! The line hasn't moved in hours. Breaking news! Oil prices hit record highs! What about the kids? Global shortages expected to worsen. Defense zones are secure, no breaches. Good. And shipping lanes? Lanes are clear, monitoring all traffic. Excellent. Then we hold. Tehran remains calm. What is happening to the screens?
Those faces! They're staring at me! I can't take this anymore! General quarters! General quarters! All hands, man your battle stations, go! Roger! Captain Catapult 1! Status on the deck! Report!
Clear! Birds are hot! The second strike is our only option, but the fallout will be catastrophic. We have no choice. We must be strong. The projections show massive casualties. It's the only way.
Protest reach the capital. Now, justice now. The people demand change. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
This is spiraling out of control.
Sell everything. The market's crashing.
When will the fuel arrive? We can't wait. Hold the line. No movement. The war is now global. What should I do? Iran is still standing and people still talk about the file. The map confirms it. Our defenses are holding the strait. A strong position. Enemy movements are contained. Precisely. We have the upper hand. Maintain readiness. The scandal is still dominating. Look at these numbers.
68% for scandal. War is at 32.
We need to push the war updates. They're getting buried. It's slipping away. The narrative is gone. They're pulling back. Keep the radar locked. Copy that. Signal is stable. This is the final battle, the greatest in history. They want to steal it from us, but we will never surrender. They are trying to rig everything against us, but we will win. We have to win. World leaders have reached a de-escalation agreement. Global markets show cautious optimism, but fuel lines remain. Citizens are urged to remain vigilant as the situation develops. The files cannot be hidden forever. Your secrets are laid bare. This reckoning is yours. The strait is reopened on our terms. Control is established.
Now, even though that was a cartoon, it represents quite a few facts. One of the most notable is they are in control of the Strait of Hormuz. I believe they realize that having the power over that, to be able to choke that area with regard to maritime traffic, was better than any bomb, because they can affect the entire world and piss the entire world off at two countries. Well, one country and a state. The state of Israel and the United States. Because we're the ones that decided to start all of it. And I can't help but remind people of that testimony that General Wesley Clark gave. Iran is the last on the list. This is it. China has had some harsh words, Russia has followed. China specifically said, I'm going to paraphrase, I think it's the easiest way, because otherwise it won't be accurate. But they specifically warned if anybody, particularly Israel, decides to use a nuclear weapon in all of this, they will pay a very high price. That was what I was alluding to earlier. So we've bombed the crud out of them. We've used up all kinds of ammunition, all kinds of equipment. They're still standing. They didn't bend over. We've asked them for ceasefire. Yeah, right. So Israel can come kill the negotiators. No, we ain't doing it. Thank you. See you, bye. I think that the side that is winning is not the side that's constantly asking for a ceasefire. While one side is asking for a ceasefire and the other side is saying, no, we're not going to do ceasefire. We're going to finish this thing. I'm not giving you any more opportunities to come over here and stick your nose in our business and tell us how to live our lives. We really don't give a damn if you don't like how we live, what religion we have, whatever that is. None of your business anyway. That's really what it's boiled down to. And at this point, they hold the card. The only thing left would be the destruction of a civilization. Even to think of that. I don't know, guys. Something has happened to this man. I don't take any pleasure in saying that. I watched, as many of you watched, him go through what appeared to be, anyway, being raked across the coals legally. Coming out victorious on top of all of that. Pissing off all the right people. So either he's compromised or there's a double. People said, Riscalla, you're crazy if you think there's a double. Okay. I know it sounds crazy. You know what else sounds crazy? A president being murdered in the face of the world while he's driving in his presidential limousine in Dealey Plaza in 1963. That was also crazy, right? If you think things have calmed down since then, this is how Iran views us. Well, something happened to cut it short. They didn't show it didn't show it. I don't know. Some strange things happened tonight. If you were listening earlier, I was talking, all of a sudden out of nowhere, some kind of commercial popped up. And I pulled up my task manager, which tells me everything is running on my computer. There was nothing. I don't have any idea how that happened. And now this got cut short. This is only about 3/4 of that played. It was supposed to be a little over a minute. Don't know what happened there. It's bizarre. Well, it is what it is. So I'll play a little video for you, a little music video, if you will. Told you earlier about the Shroud of Turin and how today, with all the technology that we have, we still are unable to reproduce something of that nature. The Shroud of Turin was the linen that the man who was called the Christ, the Messiah, Jesus, Yahushua, was wrapped in. And as I played that clip from Sean Ryan, all of the markings on the shroud line up with someone who had been crucified, particularly with the head component showing the blood coming down the head where these spikes would have been from the crown of thorns. So somebody wrote a song about this and used a lot of the words, what they call the red words, the red sentences, the words of Christ, into a song. I find it quite moving, especially understanding what the man went through. He had to be supernatural. There's nobody that I know of that could even come close to what was reported that was done to this man who we call the Christ. Hope you enjoy it.
Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit hath not flesh and bones, as ye see me have. I bled for love, not for your war cries. I rose for mercy, not for your flags. You say it's in my name, but I never said that. You built your towers, raise your flag so high, preach my name with a battle cry. But blessed are the peacemakers, that's what I said, not the ones who trade the living for the dead. You close your doors when the poor come to plead. I was hungry and you gave me no food and I was in need. You quote my words to tighten your chains, but love your enemies still remains. I never said hate them, I never said fight. I said let your light shine before all men. Bring them light if you do it for power. You've forgotten my faith. For whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. Yeah. You guard your gold and curse the weak, but the meek shall inherit the earth. I speak. You call them sinners while you stand tall, but let he without sin cast the first stone. That's all. You pray in public with words rehearsed, but when you pray, go in secret first. You wave your cross like a sword in your hand, but I carried mine through the blood and the sand. I never said hate them, I never said fight. I said turn the other cheek and walk in the light. If you do it for power, you've forgotten my faith. For whatever you do to the least of these, you do in my place. The last shall be first and the first shall be last. But you built your thrones to make that pass. No one can serve two masters, I told you plain. Yet you still bow down to fortune and fame. Oh, I never said hate them, hate them. I never said fight, fight. I said love one another as I have loved you. That's right, you wear my name but not my grace. For I was the refugee you turned away, the migrant mother with no place to stay. For whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. For I was a stranger, and you didn't take me in.
Pretty moving. Pretty much says the message of the Christ. You know, love your neighbor that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one, because I've met some people. I'd love to. I'd love them. I'd love to do something. I guess I shouldn't make fun of it, but it's hard. It's a hard lesson to love your neighbor. Pray for those who despitefully use you. It creates I can't explain it, but it does in some cases really has a difference, makes a difference. Many, many years ago, the pastor who led me to the Lord was a Metro Police officer. He was a officer for the Metropolitan Police Department in Dade County, Florida, Miami. And he'd seen some pretty nasty things, but he always had a smile on his face and a word of praise for people. And one of the things that he did was prison ministry. So he took me along to do the prison ministry, and I met some pretty hardened people. And when the word came out, they weren't so hard anymore. When they understood what Christ had done for them, you could see a change in some of these people. It was amazing. One man who had been born again before my pastor had started the prison ministry, he had found his own way and came to one of the meetings that we had and was saying that some of the prisoners, even though they are behind bars, are more free than people who are on the outside, because they have come to know the Christ. They have come to understand certain things in life that, I guess, when you're behind bars and you've got all this time on your hand, you have options, and one of those options is to start looking into life and trying to figure out life. I mean, what are you going to do? You're in I don't know how big the cells are, but you're in a cell, and so, yeah, I met some pretty hardened people, and when they were introduced to the Word, it touched their heart, and you could see a change in some of them, not all of them. All of them, it would not be an accurate statement. Some of them, and there were some that just made fun of it, and they kept on. Their hearts, I believe the Bible refers to as their hearts are hardened. Their eyes are blinded by scales of deceit. The truth hits them, and they refuse to acknowledge it. It's kind of like cognitive dissonance. When somebody tells you something that you've believed all of your life is one way, and then they come along and tell you this, and then they provide you with the evidence to go along with it. It's like, whoa, no, there can't be. No. That's what happens. All right, I got a couple of more I want to play. Let's see. I don't want to forget these ladies.
I was 14 years old. I was 16 years old. I was 16. 17. 14 years old. This is me. This was me. This is me. When I met Jeffrey Epstein. This is me. When I met Jeffrey Epstein.
There are about 1,000 of us.
It's time to bring the secrets out of the shadows. It's time to shine a light into the darkness.
I have personal friends of mine who have been taken advantage of, female friends of mine who have had males who have taken advantage of them. And some of them have expressed to me the pain. You know, there's physical pain and then there's psychological pain. If I punch you in the arm and your arm turns black and blue, after a degree of time, that black and blue, generally speaking, will go away and you can't see anything. It's gone. But if I punch you in the brain with words or some type of treatment or some physical act upon you, it doesn't go away. And in some cases, it grows, it festers, it creates such a problem to interact socially with others. And to think that that is being done to even little infants, that people are not outraged to the point we would be in the streets demanding justice, saddens, hurts my heart. We're not mad enough yet. That's the problem. Because I believe that once the people reach the boiling point, there will be no stopping it. And I don't want that, because at that point, who knows what's going to happen? People will get violent, and then the people in the government will claim those who are getting violent are terrorists, and there will be more violence on top of that. Nobody will win. And I don't see being quiet is going to allow peace. Just not going to happen. And you see how when they mock Trump, they show the Epstein files. Well, I'm not the only one, and there's many people here in the States who believe one of the reasons that the war was started was to hide and just cause a distraction away from the Epstein files. And for a degree, it has worked. It's sad. People have become saturated with the war. And not that we shouldn't know what's going on in the war, but what has happened prior to that is every bit as important. And they showed that in that Lego cartoon. So they kind of mock Trump as well as they show facts. I don't know how people are not, well, I do know in a way, but I was going to say, I don't know how people are just not so upset that we would be demanding, number one, and then to put an end to this war. Who cares if you look like a loser? You should have never started it to begin with. Get out. My fear is, rather than look like a loser, he will destroy an entire civilization. He's warned people. I'm going to destroy an entire civilization. Something is not right. I don't see it. I told you there were Jews in Iran, right?
Last night, there was an attack against a synagogue in Tehran. And it shows that the Zionistic regime has not any belief in the Jewish principles, and they are not follow Moses. They follow Satan, and they follow their benefits, which is not in the direct of the follow of the monotheistic people in the world. Any people in any part of the world who does not obey Zionism, any people in any part of the world who want to resist against USA and the army of Zionists is an enemy, and they would attack this. There is a great adhesion between different people in Iran from different religion. They are not enemy of Iranian army. They are enemy of Iranian people. They are enemy of Iranian nation, because Iranian people are great people who does not want to obey the Zionism and the USA. And when you do not want to obey the powerful man who wants to follow Satan, they would attack you, of course. So their propaganda that we want to help the Iranian people, I think is a joke, unbelievable joke from them. And of course, they are enemy of all of the Iranian people. They want and they're ready to kill all of us to achieve their goals.
Jewish people living in Iran. And Israel decided to bomb their synagogue. Hey! But Iran wants to kill all of the Jews. Okay. That's coming from a very powerful pastor. Maybe he doesn't know that there's Jewish people living in Iran. If they really wanted to kill all the Jews, why wouldn't they start in Iran, for Pete's sake? And it's just common sense, right? I don't know. It just shows how people are misled. And then especially somebody like this, who's very well known, very powerful, lots of circles of influence. And he says things like, well, they want to kill all the Jews. That's not true. That may have been what in the Bible at the time of Esther, because that's how he started it all. It was the time of Esther, and he was talking about how Esther was going to save people. But the Persians, who are now the Iranians, wanted to kill all the Jews back then. Okay, well, maybe back then, but that's not what's happening now. They don't want to kill all the Jews. They want to live in peace, for Christ's sake. They can't be left alone. They are the final one on the list. And now with what has transpired, Trump may be left with nothing more, because he will refuse to say we lost. He will be left with nothing, no other option than to drop the big nuke. And if that happens, we're going to have very serious problems. They've already talked about it several times. Well, Iran can't have the nukes, but Israel can have a nuke? This rogue state out there in the Middle East that is creating all kinds of problems, they can have a nuke? It doesn't make sense. We lose in all of this. We lose. There's no winning for us. Even if he comes out and says, okay, we won the war, like that short cartoon I played for you that Iran came out with. Yeah, we won the war. They didn't win. He knows they didn't win. They just want to celebrate that they won the war. They can't face the fact that they might lose. All right, here's another one.
اضرب اضرب اضرب.
There we go. Facts. They're paying back for what America and Israel has done. They're constantly mocking about the Epstein files. I read earlier today that they may have, through France and Italy, may have copies, unredacted copies of the Epstein files. Well, if that is true, I'm hoping and praying that they will release them. Let's see it. Let's get these people who are responsible for these unspeakable horrors. Bring them to justice. Somebody needs to pay, and pay dearly. Let's see, where did we get?
For the president to call for that, it's worth stopping and saying, no, this is not acceptable under any circumstances. You haven't justified it. You couldn't justify it. And it can't be done in our name. If you work in the White House or in the U.S. military, now it's time to say no, absolutely not. And say directly to the president, no. In case you're thinking about using some weapon of mass destruction against the population of Iran, in whose name we liberated Iran, we killed their religious leader for their benefit. Do you remember that? This was last month. Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign. I'll do whatever I can do legally to stop this because this is insane. And if given the order, I'm not carrying it out. Figure out the codes on the football yourself.
I hear they're going to want to put boots on the ground. Karg Island. And the Iranians have said, literally, bring it on, baby. We're waiting for you. Bring it on. And we send these young military people into a war that has no benefit for us, clearly no benefit for us. There is none. And you'll never convince me, oh, well, Riscalla, it's better to fight them over there than over here. They haven't been over here, pal. And if they wanted to, they could be. Obviously, they've been over there doing their thing. Oh, but Riscalla, they're funding the terrorists. I played for you a video earlier where Netanyahu is funneling money to Hamas, which is the guilty party, we're told, of the October 7th attack. And yet, somehow, they're the victim. Millions and millions of dollars every month from Israel to Hamas. Hamas attacks Israel. And yet, Netanyahu has nothing to do with it. They have it on paper. It was a setup. It was a false flag. It was their way of getting justification to go kill more people. Yeah, let's try this one.
Nancy Pelosi, the speaker.
Well, you know, when she first got in and was named speaker, I met her, and I'm very impressed by her. I think she's a very impressive person. I like her a lot. But I was surprised that she didn't do more in terms of Bush and going after Bush. It just seemed like she was going to really look to impeach Bush and get him out of office, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing.
Impeaching him?
Absolutely, for the war. For the war.
Because of the conduct of the
Well, he
war.
lied. He got us into the war with lies. And, I mean, look at the trouble Bill Clinton got into with something that was totally unimportant. And they tried to impeach him, which was nonsense. And yet Bush got us into this horrible war with lies, by lying, by saying they had weapons of mass destruction, by saying all sorts of things that turned out not to be true.
Hello. By telling lies, all sorts of things that aren't true. Hello. I'm telling you, I don't think it's the same guy. If it is the same guy, he's compromised. They figured out some way to compromise him, because all of the stuff that he was saying prior to all of this doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, there are people, Jewish, I guess the Jewish people, they're in Tel Aviv, who are protesting the war, and they're being treated like criminals. So even the government, well, it's not uncommon. We do it here, right? Why not do it there?
I'm in Tel Aviv in central Israel, where an anti-war demonstration is being held. And this is the third week in a row that we see a large number of Israelis come out defying police instructions not to come out in this large number because of the state of emergency. The protesters are accusing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of launching this war against Iran to advance his own political career. They say that this is a war of choice that should never have happened in the first place. They vow to continue to protest until this war ends, and also they're saying that they will continue to protest against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu until he is no longer the Prime Minister. For now, the police, as you can see, is trying to disperse the protesters violently, and they are moving closer at the protesters. As you can see, they've done that last week, and now they are doing it again this week.
We do it here too, so I shouldn't be surprised. But they're the ones who are always crying, we're the victim, we're just defending ourselves. I showed you what they did to Gaza before and after. That's defense. You completely, totally wiped out an entire region of people. And that's self-defense. And then we come along and we bomb a school. You know they have cameras on those missiles, right? They have cameras on those missiles. I'm absolutely 100% positive they have cameras on the missiles. They can tell what the missile is doing, and they can steer the missiles. And you know, if you looked at that building that our SAM, I think it was a SAM missile, was used to destroy the school, you would have seen what looks like a school. And they didn't hit it once, they hit it twice. Then they hit it indirectly a third time. Never an apology for the young children that we killed. That's all right, it's war. Besides, they're all animals, Riscalla. We're okay, man. We're holier than thou. We're higher and higher than Almighty. We can go around the world and do whatever we need to do in order to bring about, quote, democracy. They started out with we want to free the people. That didn't work too good. And then they went to the default with nuclear. They're having a hard time with that right now. Now they want to turn it into a holy war. Telling the troops that Donald J. Trump was chosen by God to bring about this war, to cause Armageddon, so the second coming will happen. Had a discussion with a friend of mine the other day, and they were telling me, well, you know, Riscalla, we're witnessing the end times right out of the Bible. And I said, you know, on one hand, if it is organic and it is truly happening according to the Bible, hallelujah. That means that the Lord will be here soon, and we can watch these rats scramble as fast as they want to. It's not going to do any good. They're going to end up being roasted. But on the other hand, I also know that there are families who have more money than freaking countries, okay? They have the power to say, oh, okay, this is what it says in the Bible. All right, time to make this happen. And make it happen. And then people follow through and say, oh, this is out of the Bible. So on one hand, if it's organic, hallelujah. But on the other hand, I also know that it could be made artificial. I know that there are people powerful enough to bring it about. And I can't figure out which of the two we're going through. I suspect that it is artificial. I suspect. But I've been wrong many times in my life. But that's my gut feeling, and many of my gut feelings I've been right about. I suspect that people in high places with tremendous amounts of financial influence are bringing this about. Then we follow that up with upper echelon military telling the lower military this is a holy war, that Donald Trump was picked by God, and that this is to happen in order to bring about Armageddon so that we'll speed up the return of Christ. I don't know. I feel bad because tremendous amounts of innocent people are dying. Children, women, men, who want nothing to do with either side of this war. People living in Israel, people living in Iran, don't want to have anything to do with any of this, and they have no choice. They're caught. And they have to watch their family or their loved ones or their friends get torn to pieces, literally torn to pieces. Because we believe, oh, they're 2 weeks away. What's that? 2 weeks away. They're 2 weeks away.
Sir, they're about to go nuclear. How long do we have? They're 2 weeks away. How 2 weeks away are they? Even more 2 weeks away than they were 5 years ago. My God! That's dangerous levels of 2 weeks away. I know. Son, if anything happens to me, continue my work. We're only 2 weeks away. I will continue, inshallah. Now I'll go to where no one can find me. My office on the 3rd floor, right by that really big window. Vengeance! Sir, if we attack, they will close the Strait of Hormuz. They don't have the balls to close the Strait of Hormuz. They just closed the Strait of Hormuz. And oil is now over $100 a barrel. Please keep me out of this. No one likes this war. And I want to be president one day. Come on, send a boat or something.
You're the most powerful military in the world. You send your own boats.
That was a test. Ha! You fell right into my trap.
You know, it's satire, but they do give you information that is accurate. Sometimes the best reason for war, no reason at all. The truth of the matter is, the reason is control, like we did in Iraq, like we did for many years in Afghanistan, until we decided, well, we've taken all we're going to take, and for whatever reason decided to leave after 20 some odd years, after how many lives, after how much financial input, leave with our tail between our legs, and leave what behind? All kinds of equipment behind. We're still in Iraq, I guess, looking for weapons of mass destruction. I don't know. How long have we been? It's been over 20 years now. Haven't found them yet, but we're still there. Well, you know what? We're not there to look for any weapons of mass destruction. We're there to collect the oil. We're there to steal their gold. That was the first thing that they did when they moved in. Stole his gold. And then we're going to manage the oil facilities, just like in Venezuela. At the beginning of all of this, Trump said, oh, well, we're going to have a regime change and I'm going to pick who is going to be the new leader. What? I'm telling you, folks, something has seriously changed in this man. All right. I'm still shook up over this thing that happened earlier where some kind of an ad or something just kicked in out of nowhere. It's crazy. Just tells me that somebody, I don't know if it's on the platform or maybe through the network, somebody's got control. That doesn't make me very happy. Well, it is what it is. Those of you who pray, please pray for our country. Pray for President Trump. Pray that he be guided to make the right decisions, even if it means that he has to admit a mistake. It's not beyond the power of prayer. I have seen tremendous things happen. Pray for our country. Pray for peace in the world. Pray for our families. Pray for each other like the Bible says. I think we need it now more than we've ever needed it. It's a heck of a time to be alive. And it would be tremendous to see a unity in the world and this darkness to be overcome by the light. The light that is what happens when people unite together and find a common bond. Or common bond should be at least, the very least, those children that have been abused. At least, but far more than that. But a very basis, a very foundational place, the children. See you in a week. God bless.